When I first got the plot, there were birds nesting in the trees and hedges at the back, so I left the job of clearing the back of the allotment till the nesting season was over. Now that the birds have gone, I can get on with the job of clearing the tangled mass of brambles, hawthorn, blackthorn and weeds from the bottom of the allotment.
There's quite a lot of roots to dig up, like this dock, but that's easy compared to these massive, thick, I mean that is the thickness of my finger, and these are going to be big and buried deep, so they're going to be a big job to dig out, and there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them, and there will be more as I get further into that lot. There's still more, but I'm winning. I mean, earlier today I was here and I've cleared this lot today. Obviously I haven't dug anything up, I've just gone and cleared the top and cut things down, but I can sort of get a bit of a feel of that I'm going to be able to clear this bit. Digging up these bramble roots is a nightmare, but you can see it's I mean, that's my hand by comparison. Oh, there's my foot by comparison, so you can see it's quite a, and I didn't get it all because it broke on the ground, so it's a good 50 centimeters, that one. The same with this one, and it ends up sort of there. So it's a bit of work digging these up, but if you don't, they'll just come back. I mean, there's little bits of roots that break off and I can't get to, but anything that comes of those I'll just be able to pull out. But these long established roots are a nightmare. This is why nettles need to be pulled by the roots. I mean, look at the size of that. And also, it's run on the ground and come up with another. So it branches off. So unless you dig them out by the roots, you're just leaving yourself with trouble for later. Looking at this tangled mass, it's quite clear that nobody's been down here for at least a couple of years. I mean, it is so dense. That it's difficult to see through. And these are quite thick, as thick as a man's thumb, some of those brambles, so nobody's been down here for a long time. Look at the roots of this beggar. That's my glove there for comparison, so that's like longer than my arm, that one, and this one it's not far much shorter than that. So digging a few of these out is enough for a day's exercise. But at least I know they won't come back. And then I've got to dig around and find the bits that broke off. So that was attached to one of those bits that broke off. So I've dug that up again. This was attached to the bit that I just dug up. And I went through and dug around a bit and found the rest of the root. But yes, it's slow progress, but making sure that I've got as much of the brambles out as possible. I mean, this is a tiny young dock plant. And you can see how much root it's got. Now I've lost a few tips, but even that little one has got all those roots, so you can imagine what size roots the big one's got. And look at the size of these nettles. They're as tall as me. In fact, some are taller than me, and there's a lot of them.
There is a tangled mass of nettles that I have to pull up by the roots.
I'm pulling bucket loads of nettles, complete with roots, but obviously they've been here a while, for God knows how many years, and they've set seed and dropped seeds over the years, so it's like a thicket of nettles back there, and even if I get the roots, there's going to be a lot of seeds, so I have to think very careful about what I put over here. I'm finding a lot of rubbish back here still. There's a load of big piece of carpet here. Found the edge of it, but I don't know what the rest is. But there's also big metal tubes that are sort of buried, more or less. And I think this carpet goes in under them, so I've got to get rid of that first.
The wheelbarrow loads of brambles will be piled up somewhere and we'll burn them later.
The size of the nettles I'm pulling out, I mean, they are absolutely enormous. Almost 2 meters tall. And massive roots. I'm afraid I won't be able to get them all out because there's just so much of it. So I'll be pulling nettles for a few years out of that patch. The deeper I get into this tangled mess, the worse it looks. I can see bits of rubbish of plastic and all sorts down there. Don't know if it comes out on camera. It's a massive mound, and I really don't know what's underneath it, but there seems to be all sorts of rubbish here to try to sort of weed fabric, etc. Good grief. The size of this bramble, it's just into the tree, disappears into the next allotment, and this one to the side, just oof. And that will have roots a mile long, and look, it's got carpet around it and all this rubbish. Oh dear. Bin, metal bin. That's the top of an incinerator. Bits of old rubbish. Bits of tree trunks. Ah, lovely. Well, I've reached the bottom of the plot. That tree and that corrugated tin is the end of my plot, or that fence is the end of the neighbour's plot. But I thought I'd be happy, but looking at all this rubbish and carpet and things that's down here, it really worries me that it's going to be a bit bigger job than I thought. I thought it was just overgrown, but they just chucked a load of rubbish here and then let it get overgrown. So all the rubbish has to be dug out. This morning it's carrying on with going through this lot and trying to sort this lot of spaghetti of nettles and brambles. Then I can sort out some of this rubbish as well that's lying about back here. But the sun's coming in from the other side, so it's quite quite a bit to do. Things like great big tree branches and things, there's all sorts down here. And this mound with carpets and plastic and all sorts. Don't know how far it goes back there, but it worries me as to what's underneath it. Might have a load of rubbish buried underneath it, but I'll have to cross that bridge when I come to it. And as I go through, I cut the nettles near the base, so later on I know where they are, so I can dig up the roots. And the tops have still got leaves and things, so they go in the nettle tea. But these stalks are thick and woody, they're not going to give much into nettle tea, it'll just take up space in the barrel. But I'll use them to put in the bottom of the watercress tubs, and it'll just slowly fester down there and feed the watercress. The reason I'm not digging the nettles up by the roots at the moment is the ground is wet. I'll be traipsing backwards and forwards through mud if I go and try and dig everything up. So I'll do the clearance first, and then I will start at the far corner and work backwards, so I'm not going through mud as I walk in. I'm only going to be going through it once. I mean, it's so slippery now, even without taking the mud off, I'm still slip sliding all over the place. It's the last week of October and there's still raspberries coming through. I made the rookie mistake. I picked them and ate them, and then I realised, oh, I should have filmed that. There's still a few that are coming through. There's the odd one in there that's still got the odd raspberry, so that's not bad considering how many I've got. I should, once things are organised and the plants are properly trimmed and looked after, I should get a good steady crop through the year, because there are some summer ones in here and some, obviously, if it's coming, it's still producing at the end of October, that's a long season. The brambles are up in the trees and they're actually just choking the trees. I mean, this fruit tree is just completely overrun and overtaken by brambles. So no wonder nothing's producing down here, because the brambles are sucking up all the daylight and all the nutrients. Right, I'll figure out what that tree is later. I think there's another fruit tree back there, but I can't see for all the brambles. And look at the tangled mass. I'm gonna have a job getting these roots out. Now I'm leaving the comfrey where it is, if I can, till I know where the paths and the beds are going to go, and because I don't mind a few comfrey plants around, but so long as they're not in the way. I had to be very careful to pull all the long brambles out of the trees. I didn't want to damage the trees, but also I had to be careful as the ground was still slippery, so I didn't want to fall down and cause myself an injury. The brambles were quite long, so I had to cut them into more manageable pieces so that they could be stored and we can burn them later. Well, if you've ever wondered what bramble spaghetti looks like, this is it. absolutely everywhere, up into the trees and down here. And I've gone through maybe half of it, and I've still got another half to do, so it's going to be another couple of days to carefully go through so that I don't injure myself. This big ugly compost heap has gone down to about half of what it was. As I'm cutting the privet hedges now, I'm putting those on top of this, and I'll just keep it covered over winter, and then I can deal with it in the spring. And if you're wondering where the blackthorns are coming from, there's seeds around, so just drop this stuff around. Come here, dropped it now. Okay, so just drop this stuff, and of course more come up, and these have to be burnt. This stuff in here is all pretty much dead stuff, because there's that many bramble branches up there that have completely blocked the light down here, and everything's down here is brown and dead. And these trees, these blackthorns, have got to go. They're in the way. Pointless having them here. This massive hawthorn, which I need to get rid of. Whew, big job, big job. But we're getting close. We're getting close to the sun's shining right in the camera, but over there is the brambles that are going along the fence. So getting there. That's the corner of the compost bin. So another couple of days, and I should have this more or less, well, cut down, but not everything. All the stumps and nettle roots still are there, but at least I'll be able to see what's what, and then I can get down to clearing it, but that can wait. Well, this blackthorn certainly needs being cut down because it's right in the way, so I'm going to lop it off, but I'm not going to cut it right down at the bottom, because I want to leave a bit so I can pull the stump out later. So I'm not going to cut it close to the ground. I'm going to leave a big piece of the trunk at the bottom, and I'll cut it in little pieces so I can get into the barrel so I can burn it. It's easier to cut it into little pieces and put it into barrels, and it's makes sense to do it whilst it's standing up rather than trying to manhandle it once it's been cut down. And I'm cutting just below the last thorn. Right, so I'm leaving that bit, so I know where the actual stump is, and I can deal with that later. One tree gone, 20 more to go. At some point a big tree branch, or maybe a whole tree, I can't see the end of it, but I've managed to uncover a big chunk of what looks like a massive tree branch. and I'll eventually get to the bottom of it and see what it is. But they just felled it, dropped it, just left it, never dealt with it. I'm pulling what looks a lot like privet, but it's just branches, and as they've laid down they've set root. So I won't be using the privet hedges to make hugel beds or anything like that, because if they start rooting, bloody hell. I've got this old galvanised bin that I found at the back of the allotment, so I'm going to use that to store all the ashes that are in this barrel, and then I can burn all this lot. Because once I've burnt this lot, I can then have some space to put that lot when I've cut that down, because there's a lot here to get rid of. I've emptied out the little bits of charcoal and ashes that were in this barrel. It's about a third full, and I've put it all into this bin, which is more or less full. So I'll cover that. I'll put a bit of plastic on top to keep the rain out, and I can use that. I mean, it's bits of charcoal as well as ashes, so it'll be useful for soil amendments, but in small doses. So I've got about a couple of years supply there, and there's more to burn, so I'll be alright for a few years for ashes and things to add to potatoes and things.
Now that the task of clearing the bottom area is underway and the end is in sight, I feel happier. Goodbye for now, and come back soon.